Center, and we are live and ready to go. I'll put myself back. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, March 21st edition of Abel Marketing's Facebook Live. Today I have a fantastic guest, Scott Wilson from Greater Vancouver Sales Solutions, and we're going to be talking about the role of sales in your small business. And so I do my little quick intro, and then I'm going to switch things around a little bit here, and Scott's going to take center stage. So welcome, Scott. Thanks for doing this today. How are you?
Great. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me. And this is awesome. Look
Yeah,
forward
and
to
so what
our
we're going to
talk.
do a little bit today is run through some questions, Scott, that I already sent to you. And sometimes it splits off and we have additional things that come up or things that we talk about. But what I'd like to always do is start out with the guest introducing themselves, giving a little bit about themselves. So that's why the first question is, why did you start doing Greater Vancouver Sales Solutions? And when you do that, maybe you can elaborate. I know you from
Yeah,
Connect and Collaborate, but the people that follow us don't. So tell us a little bit about Greater Vancouver Sales Solutions and how things got started there.
absolutely. So thanks again, Ben.
Oh,
So
you're
I
welcome.
uh, I had over I had over 30 years in corporate Canada. I was a
Okay.
national VP of sales. I was in the consumer packaged goods industry
Okay.
for pretty much all my career. And as you move through your corporate Canada, and I had an awesome career. I will say I had an absolutely fantastic career in corporate Canada. Moved up, started as street sales, moved up to, running teams, to running national accounts, to running national account teams, and, into that senior VP role. So,
Right.
as you progress in corporate Canada, everything has a shelf life and everything else. It was just time for me to make a change because I found myself being more in the boardrooms and less in working with my teams and making everything successful.
Right.
And so it was just a point where it was time for some changes. So I made some changes in my career. I actually left corporate Canada, um, had a fantastic career there, like I said, and then I kept getting back to, okay, so what do I want to do now? I had opportunities to go back into corporate Canada, and it was like, no, you know what? I've done my time. It was fantastic, but it's somebody else's
Mm-hmm.
turn. And so then I got back to my core values. What do I like to do? I like to help. I like to help build sales teams. I like working with teams. I like
Right.
helping building in the processes and ensuring that everything you do you can make a difference. So right about that time, I discovered the company is called Acceleration. They're out of
Okay.
Indiana.
Okay.
And so the funny thing with them is, I will say I had a bigger vetting and a longer vetting period to make sure that I was the right fit for myself and for them. And
Okay. So
so
they
so
vetted
they
you, or sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
Maybe we
yeah,
can
they
just kind of.
vetted me and I vetted them.
Okay.
So
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, and
yeah,
I think that
yeah,
happens, or
yeah,
it should happen when you're looking at a
yeah.
new opportunity, right? So,
But
um,
this one. So this
no, no
one,
problem.
it turned out to be, it was an awesome experience going through the process. And you know what, it was just timing was everything. And I got back to what my core values are: helping people,
Mm-hmm.
help build leaders, help build process, and help build winning successful sales teams. And we
Okay.
focus on the small to medium sized businesses.
Right,
So
because that's what I was going to ask.
yeah, so when we focus on the small to medium sized businesses, so my kind of my sweet spot, as I call it, it's companies that are in that revenues of sort of 1 million to 40 million
Okay.
dollar range. And I don't typically, what I do is the startup stage. They're not quite ready for somebody
Right.
right now of my experience, and they won't be ready for it, and make sure we meet them so we can both get the best success out of it.
Right.
So in saying that, I found Sales Acceleration. There's 180 of us scattered through North America. We're all senior VPs. We've all done there and done it. So now we get to go
Right.
help those small and medium-sized companies. I can come in and just build their sales structure and process and help them build the right keys and metrics to make their sales processes sustainable, repeatable, and successful. Because that's
Right.
usually the problem is the processes are broken. They have lots of gaps. So, well, I had that experience of building that through my whole career.
Right.
um, that's where I come in and I help you know take the gaps out and make things streamline. And then the other things I also do is I can become their fractional VP of sales.
Right.
So by doing that, I'll take over the sales team, and I'll completely run the sales team, and
Hmm.
that'll be, when you hear the word fractional a lot now, because it is a big piece of what our world is now. So I do that for 1 day a week. I'll come in. Now it can be spread through the week on what that 1 day looks like
Right.
and whatnot. It allows me to get back to my core values and what I like to do. I run a team, I make them successful, get the right processes, get their days streamlined so they're focusing on what they need to focus on,
Right.
and build out the right processes to make them successful.
Interesting.
And like I said, you always want to make you always want to build the next leader. And that's what I did through my whole career. I built many leaders through my career. And that's where I get a lot of fun and enjoy. So,
Right.
so that's why I do this now. I don't want to be in that corporate boardroom. I want to be helping teams be
Fair enough.
successful. And
Right. And so that leads kind of into another one of our questions because I sent you a list and I said, why did you start doing this particular thing with
right,
with Greater Vancouver Sales Solutions? You've given us some of your background. You elaborate a little bit on who, like what I always ask is, like, when you start working with a new client, uh, how do you get started with them? Because it sounds like you already have a benchmark. You said between a million and 40 million. You don't look at
yeah.
people less than that. So maybe elaborate a little bit on that for us.
So currently, when I identify somebody who we get introduced to each other,
Yeah.
and that is one of the key metrics, because under a million, they're not quite ready for me
Right.
because they've got so many other pieces to get put into place before they can start focusing on what I do. Um, Now, when I get started with a client, then and I identify those key pain points. My
Mm-hmm.
sales are stagnant; they're not growing. They've been the same. You might have a business owner or a CEO who's running the team, doesn't know how to, um,
Hmm.
you know, and basically, and you do see this, or I see this a lot, obviously. I'll see a business owner or a CEO who is running the sales division, and they're so focused on revenue that all their eyes are off the pieces of the business, and that's where they need to
Interesting.
be able to work on all levels of the business, not just the revenue. Revenue is important, obviously, but they get so focused and get the horse blinders on, and that's where they're looking at. Their eyes are off the rest of the business. So I can come in and build the right processes in and work with those teams to make
Right.
them successful. So he can, well, obviously his eyes need to be on revenue. He can focus
Of
on all
course.
his
Of course.
business, you know.
Of course.
And so in saying that, then of course, when we first have a discovery call,
Yeah.
I have one with a client. Um, there's three key questions I go to, and why am I here? Tell me what's going on. And it's like any good. It's just like when I was doing sales calls, and this is sales 101. Don't think you're not trying to pitch what you do. You need to hear what the pain points are, because you could be talking about things that are totally irrelevant in the conversation. So the first question is always, tell me what's going on. Why am I here? Let them go. Let them speak. You always ask a good leading question in sales, and that's how you really discover. And usually lots of times by the time they get to me, there's lots of pain points, and
Yeah.
it just comes flooding out. And so I'm taking notes and scratching notes as fast as I can, and identifying those key indicators that I can see, and it's usually key ones I hear all the time. So
I was
so I
gonna say you
understand.
got it. I was gonna say you got to start using Restream IO like I do, and taping the conversation. That's what I started
Yeah,
doing. Especially I've done that right because then you just like
yeah,
you can go back several. Like I've gone over and over and over a discovery call that I've taped with a client and like making all these notes, and then you think about it later after you listen to the
yeah,
recording. You're like, oh yeah, right. That idea pops into your head. So there's so much
yeah.
on a discovery call.
Hmm.
That's really really critical, right? And that's
Yeah,
like obviously we have these questions and I send you stuff, but you talked about background, you talked about why you do what you do. When you're working with a new client, do you have one thing that I thought of too is do you have a specific industry, because you mentioned consumer goods or consumer packaging? So are you
yeah.
focusing on that, like when you're doing discovery calls or you're doing client outreach or you're getting leads or people are referring, does it have to be a certain industry? Because I mean honestly, right, like you could be doing startup or like startup for tech, or you could be
Yeah.
there's all kinds of different. I mean, I can't name them all right now, but there's so many industries, right? That it's just like you could have all kinds of people, right, with your experience and
Yeah.
all contacts and people you've worked with, the people you've worked for, and you've built sales leaders, and then they move to a tech company, and then you know you obviously have a lot of contacts. So how do you determine? Because it does it have to be somebody specific, like a certain industry, or is it just strictly based on where you think they are in terms of revenue?
No, it does. Industry is totally agnostic. Agnostic.
Okay.
It comes to the point of my knowledge of what I provide is very transferable from industry to industry,
Right. Of course
and
it is.
so there's a couple good points that come out of that. Is you what I do is very transferable. The other
Yeah.
piece of what I said was, or trying to say here, sorry, get
No, no,
mixed in
that's
my
okay.
words.
Take your time. Take
But
your
on
time.
the industry, it you just get the introduction because I'm not about learning what your industry is.
Right.
So I may have tech is one of the hottest button industries I work in
Of course.
because it's one of the fastest growing.
Of course it
They
is.
all
Yeah.
understand,
Well,
and when it comes to tech, boy, a lot of the business owners and CEOs I talk to, really smart people. But when it comes to the sales piece, they just don't quite get how that works because they're used to problem, fix, move on. And sales is a lot different. It's sales is about mindset, and about 80% is mindset in
that's
sales,
really
and twenty
interesting you say
percent
that.
is skill set. And in saying that, so I'll have a business owner say to me on a discovery call, "Well, what do you know about SaaS and enterprise?" And I go, "Very
Not
low,
much.
but I know enough just to be dangerous, right?"
Well,
And
yeah, it's but
yeah,
it's not relevant, right? I mean, I guess
no,
there's
it's not
probably
relevant.
specifics to the industry. I mean,
Yeah,
I have IT
yeah,
background, but I didn't do SaaS, and I know a little bit
hmm,
about enterprise, but that's their main concern, right? It's like again, it all
right,
comes down to mindset, and they're asking you what you know
right,
about SaaS and enterprise, and it's like that's not what this is
yeah,
about. This is more about
no,
mindset than skill set,
yeah,
because you're right. You can learn that 20%, like anybody can
right.
learn.
I
Like
can
I have
teach that.
technology back. Well,
Yeah,
exactly, right? But I
yeah,
mean, you could learn about SaaS and enterprise stuff if you really needed to, right?
yeah.
It's just like, but it's like guys, like like you
Hmm.
have to understand the sales piece here. Um, just one last question. I got a couple things, but we talked about obviously SaaS or enterprise or tech. What's the most
Hmm.
exciting project you've done to date? Like since you started doing Greater Vancouver Sales Solutions.
Uh, you know what? Boy, I tell you, I've worked with a number now, and it's been they're all unique, right? In the sense of
Right.
because the cool part is, well, I say I work a lot in tech. I've learned so much in tech in the last couple of
Right.
years. It's unbelievable
Right.
what I've learned. So they're all unique in their own way, but I will say, I worked with somebody in the construction industry,
Right.
and that was really cool. And that's when
Okay.
I just you could just see them light up, and it's like, oh my god, thank you, because
Right.
I made it. I took it away from take this off your plate. Let you focus on what you need to do and be good at. I'm going to build your strategy and your sales and have your team go in. So
Right.
in saying that and doing that, that was a really exciting engagement.
Right.
Another one was in consumer packaged goods,
Of course.
and
Of course.
they fundamentally while I don't deal with startups, this one was almost at a ground zero, but
Okay.
they had revenue, they had money, they just needed to get process built in
Right. Right.
before we could even get in the big let's go sell something.
Mm-hmm.
It's the point of they needed all the fundamentals put in of the sales structure, sales strategy, targeting, making sure it streamlines with the plant and everything. So that was a really cool one, and now they are off and running. I actually inputted a director of sales in for them because now they were ready for it because I'd built the infrastructure for them. So now they're off and running, and they're hitting. They're going to knock it out of the park, and they're going to be a difference out there. So those are a lot of fun to see and just watch them grow. But sometimes understanding you got to pump the brakes once in a while. It's like, well,
Yeah.
you've got to get you got to get this back piece fixed first before we can even look at this piece because that is understanding timing and go and when to hit the gas and when to hit the brakes and and understanding all that. That's
Right.
why I say in my discovery calls, it's about give me those pain points, tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
Another one I go from there is I go to, um, you know, are you willing to make changes? Because if you're not willing to
Hmm.
make any changes, it doesn't matter what I say or do. They need
Well,
to be able
yeah,
to
it's
willing to.
that,
They need to be
but
open to
that's
change.
mindset, right? But that's mindset. That's
Yeah,
got nothing to
yeah,
do with skill set. That's mindset. It's like,
yeah,
are you open to
yeah,
change? And
yeah.
one experience I would share, like when you've talked about having those processes in place and then adding a director of sales, is people have asked me with marketing to do Facebook ads, and I'm like, well, but do you have all the infrastructure in place to do
Mm-hmm.
it? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, do you have a functioning website? Like, do all the pieces on your website work? Right? Like, do you have like
Right.
if you're trying to build Facebook ads and you advertise the business, when I come and click on the ad, where do I go for one? And two, if I go to your website, can I go to your contact page or wherever else and tell you that I'm interested in buying and you actually get the email and you can actually respond to me and fulfill my order? It's the same kind of thing, right? It's like I want to do this, but I don't know if people often realize how many actual things need to be in place before you actually do that, right? Like it's like
Yeah,
people spend money on Facebook ads and they go, well, the company I hired to do Facebook ads didn't work out for me. And I'm like, yeah, but they
yeah,
just do Facebook ads, guys. They don't do anything else. They
yeah.
don't understand all the other stuff you have to do, right, to run it like to run a Facebook ad campaign. They don't optimize your website. They don't do anything. So I can see, how there's parallels here, and you and I've talked about what you and I do, and how
Right.
it can work in conjunction with each other. And so, other than that, that's really all I have for today. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Scott, thank you again for joining. I've left Scott's information in the chat there, salesacceleration.com, and I got Scott's phone number in there and his email. Left my contact information in there, and people can reach out to Scott if they need assistance. So thanks again,
Yeah.
everybody. And yeah, go ahead,
So,
Scott. Give us a final.
yeah, I was just gonna say, final is thank you for this again, Ben.
Oh no! Oh, you're welcome.
Sales
Anytime,
and
Scott.
marketing. Obviously, it's one we didn't talk about, right?
No,
Because you want
well,
to
no,
talk,
we didn't.
you
But
want to talk about being in alignment. That's what
yeah,
it has to start with. Sales and
yeah,
marketing
it
have got to be
does.
in alignment. So you aren't on doing step 7, and you haven't even
Well,
done the
exactly.
first 6.
Well,
So
that's exactly
so
right, right?
sales, and I've always used this example of sales and marketing to the point
Yep,
of so marketing tells the story. They build a good story. They talk about brand
yep,
and direction. And so as I call it, you're leading to the fishing hole. The salesperson comes in because marketing and sales are aligned. They
yep,
follow along and convey the same message, meet at the
yep,
same fishing hole.
yep.
And so now the salesperson's job is to go get the fish.
That's
So to
right.
fish. So, like as I always say, it's very basic 101 is
Yep,
I
I
don't
agree.
fish, I teach you to fish.
That's right.
And,
And I fish,
and that's where sales and yeah. And that's where
and I make the fish look
sales and
pretty.
marketing come into line. Exactly.
Yeah, I make
Yeah.
the fish look pretty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you tell
yeah.
the story,
That's right.
because
Exactly.
when I day one, when I start with a client, the first question I start is tell me your story
Well,
because
exactly, right. And then
I
so
have
they
to
don't even
learn the
have.
story.
And
Yeah.
oftentimes they haven't spent money on marketing, or they've got their
Yeah.
CEO doing the marketing, or they've got something else, and it's like they don't have a story. I'm like, oh, that's a
Yeah.
problem. Like
Exactly.
what?
So that's why
Right?
I asked that question is what's your story? Because
Right.
I need to hear it. And then sometimes I'll see it and I go, well, you have an awesome story. Why doesn't that convey onto your website? Why doesn't that convey onto
Well,
your
exactly.
product? Why doesn't, you
Well,
know,
yeah,
but
yeah. You got
so,
no.
so
Yeah.
that's where
So
like somebody like yourself and me, I mean, we work really, and we have to be aligned in anything we do because
right.
sales and marketing have to be aligned because that's where process and story work really well.
Okay. Thanks again, Scott. Thanks everyone for tuning
Thank
in.
you.
We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.